A lot taking place in these markets. We're going to break it down for everybody. And then what I'm looking forward to talking with you about is some of the strategies and tactics that you've been working on with your community. Obviously, we have the Digital Family Office associated with Digital Wealth Partners. You guys are just cooking up a lot of great things for our community over there. And so I'm excited to talk about that. It looks like the price appreciation that we've been waiting for is right around the corner. And I think we really need to be taking advantage of this opportunity to prepare ourselves before it comes, right? Whether you're just taking a little bit of profit throughout this bull run, or we're talking about setting up the family trust, setting up the family office, you're going to want to get professionals on your team like Jake and others on his team that are going to help you facilitate this plan. So I'm really looking forward to this. Uh, Jake, this is absolutely crazy what we're seeing right now. There's so much strength in the fundamentals, in the undercurrent behind cryptocurrency, but it seems like we're still correlated with the broader stock market, which is very fragile. And every time Trump coughs, the market, folds again. So, what's your take on kind of the market volatility that we've seen recently?
Well, I mean, it's still nascent, right? It's only 3 trillion is a total market cap here, so it's still a risk on asset, and to your point, directly correlated with the stock market. When breadth opens up there, or if the reverse carry trade or tariffs or whatever other narrative you want to put on it starts to put some pressure on things. Um, they move in tandem. I'm hoping, to your point, that here in the near future we're going to get some adoption at scale of some of these assets, and then I think you're going to see a big break in the direct correlation between these risk on assets and the stock market and crypto. I think I don't know that people are going to be ready for that. I think the paradigm of the 4 year cycles is what everybody gets wrapped up in, and they think that that's going to continue. But I'm pretty confident that we're going to have some disruption this go around with regulation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to give you credit because it was really you and Michael Gayad who actually put me on to the Japan carry trade a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I mean, you guys have been talking about this for a while. And now we started to see it unravel. That was back in August. And as they've been doing here recently, they slap a bigger band-aid on the patient, but the patient is on its way out. And interesting enough, yesterday, the bank term funding program actually hit zero. And that was another backstop for the banks that came after the banking crisis in 2023. So they never fixed that. Sure enough, back last August, we have the Japan carry trade unwind, and they threw another band-aid on that. The Fed and the Treasury came out, they were going to buy 50 billion worth of bonds. So what we got handed off here was a fake economy, and we're starting to see that, unravel, fake jobs numbers, all that's being corrected. And Trump's been very open that he doesn't care, or he's not watching in particular the stock market, right? He's focused on preserving the dollar and preserving that bond market. So, can you just run folks who don't know what this Japan reverse carry trade is, how it relates to basically a global margin call? Japan just might be the tipping point. Let's run through this for the new people out here.
Yeah, absolutely. I ask people pretty frequently, and most people aren't familiar with this. And if unless you're looking at global macroeconomics, it's not something that's on most people's radar. You're looking at the U.S. stock market, maybe some crypto here, but over the last couple of decades, Japan's interest rates have been zero, and at some points negative. Like they would pay you money to borrow money, which seems asinine, but that's what was going on because they were trying to stimulate their economy through whatever mechanism they could. So they were already at the zero bound interest rates. Let's print the money, the QE, just like we did here in the US. And you've had tens of trillions of dollars borrowed from the Bank of Japan over the last couple decades. And as they've raised interest rates here, those notes are becoming due. And the margins that people were operating on, they took that money and swapped it for dollars and put it in our US stock market and swapped it for dollars and bought US treasuries, which were earning it's basically a risk-free return on free money, right? And so as the interest rates there are coming up and our interest rates are coming down, those people are getting squeezed. And if people are scared that the rates there are going to get out of control for the Bank of Japan, they've got yield curve control underway, and that's why we've seen them kick the can just these last few weeks here. But they are going to have to raise interest rates there in Japan because their inflation is getting out of control again. And so, in order to save their own economy and their people and make sure that they're not in a financial crisis.
The anticipation of an XRP coin breakout past $4 looms large, with analysts predicting the date and closely watching market indicators for signs of further growth. This exciting news is sweeping through the stock market as XRP makes a remarkable resurgence. Investors are abuzz with optimism as XRP's price soars to $2, a substantial recovery from its recent dip to $1.79. Welcome back to Investocracy Crypto.
How if my money manager had the opportunity to get me exposure to digital assets and hadn't, we'd be having a very stern conversation right now after I'm watching XRP pop 500%. Even Bitcoin and Ethereum, who have been lagging since the election, they still were up 60, 70%, right? So, and with BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, now coming out, Larry Fink saying that cryptocurrencies are going to transcend traditional currencies. ETF race is on. Franklin Templeton now filing for an XRP ETF. It's very clear. So, I mean, if you're listening to this show here right now and your money manager is not on the ball with crypto digital assets, that's a conversation that you probably need to have. And maybe it needs to be the last conversation with your money manager. But they are, handcuffed. And this is what I'm so excited, with what you're doing, bringing new opportunities to folks to invest in pre-IPO. Obviously, a little bit more sophisticated in your approach to digital assets and helping folks get exposure there. And so the opportunities are there. I think that most of the audience here is probably already on their way. I want to speak one more final point on the macro before we go into crypto, because there's a lot to talk about there. But we have a rate decision coming next week from the Fed. Inflation came back down here this last month, below expectations. And so we are heading back in the right direction. Egg prices down, gas at the lowest price in 4 years. So we've started to make that turn. Is it enough for the Fed to cut rates next week? And the other signal that I'm looking for, because I don't know if we're going to get that rate cut quite yet. I think they're going to leave it unchanged personally. Interested to hear what you have to say. But the signal that I'm looking for is they're going to reduce the amount of quantitative tightening that they've been doing, which would be a reversal of course there and would send a bullish signal to the markets. But what are you expecting from the Fed meeting next week?
Yeah, with the CPI coming back better than expected, it was still 2.8 instead of 2.9, right? So not a huge amount less on the inflation versus what the expectations were as a difference there. We are seeing jobs starting to be lost, right? There's a lot of indicators that we are moving into a recession. And one of the direct mandates for the Fed is, percentage of jobs.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm with you. I think they're in between a rock and a hard place. If they print more money, we're going to see inflation. They're starting to reverse, some of the quantitative tightening, like you're talking about. And if they were to exacerbate that with lowering interest rates at the same time, you might see inflation start to rear its head again, right? People are going to start borrowing money again. People are going to be refinancing homes. Money's going to move across the economy.
Chart analysis paints a bullish picture for XRP, with key resistance levels and technical indicators pointing towards a potential surge. Crypto analysts emphasize the importance of XRP maintaining the $2.50 mark to sustain its upward momentum. The formation of a symmetrical triangle pattern on longer timeframes hints at a possible significant uptick, with a target of $4.12 by May hanging tantalizingly close. Binance's liquidation heat map underscores crucial resistance points at $2.66 and $2.98, potentially triggering a further price increase if breached.
The debt has to be addressed. We have a currency crisis and a liquidity crisis that has to be addressed. Is there a better asset to solve these problems than XRP? In my opinion, no. What do you think, Jake?
Well, and you need something that's a low value that could be a much higher value to be able to offset the debt, right? You need something that's going to expand with use or a revaluation like we saw in 1933 of gold. They need a mechanism by which they can move something onto the balance sheet and then it appreciates substantially to be able to offset the debt. The other thing that's been proposed is, there's like a $5 million gold visa that international people that want to come here and do business in the U.S. could pay for. I think if they sold, what was it, 30,000 of those, solves our debt, right? Or maybe it's 3 million. I don't remember what the total number was, but it was interesting
Yeah, it
way
was
to
just
go
a few
about it.
million, I think it would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had And that would bring more GDP here to the US. It would bring all those people that have all that money to be able to afford that here to do business. You have other countries, we work with people to get stuff set up in Switzerland or Monaco or Portugal or in Dubai. And a lot of those jurisdictions, you can make a donation, a political donation, or purchase a property, and you get a golden visa to be able to participate there and you become a citizen. So why not do that here in the US? I think that that's an interesting way to go about it. But yeah, I think that XRP is likely the mechanism by which they're going to hold a portion of that on the US's balance sheet. And as they use that to settle the back end of financial markets, and it pushes up to, maybe $1,000 a piece, we could see a large portion of the debt offset by the asset and the appreciation.
Yeah. And we have assets on the balance sheet right now that are valued. It's just ridiculous that we have our gold valued at 40 bucks per ounce or whatever it's at, while gold has just gone up above 3,000. Now, do we have the gold? Once again, there's a common theme here where we're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, right? Do we have the gold? Do we have the crypto? And like you said, you get innovative ideas like this with the gold card, right? I think that there's many ways that we could pay down that debt, write off some of that debt. I think that there's going to be some of that happening too. And so because my concern is I don't want to see them take on a big bag of XRP or another asset and then just dump it to pay off the debt without exploring other ideas that could do the same thing while allowing the government and the treasury to hold on to that XRP, still utilizing it. I want to run this idea by you. We know that Judy Shelton's working with Trump maybe on a 50-year gold back and gold redeemable bond that would be introduced next year on the 250th anniversary, which I love this idea. The reason why these governments are failing to roll out gold-backed currencies is because you can't redeem them for gold. Zimbabwe says, hey, we got a new currency, it's backed by gold. Everybody says, cool story, bro, we don't trust you. If we can't redeem it for gold, if you're not going to provide an audit, we don't trust you. So the redeemable in gold bond that's being proposed next year, and potentially putting that on, tokenizing it on a ledger. What better ledger than the XRP ledger, right? You've already got ROUSD. You already have T-bills being tokenized on the XRP ledger. To me, it's just a match made in heaven to have a Ripple Treasury partnership where they roll out something like that or other similar products on the XRP ledger.
Market optimism receives an additional boost from Bitcoin whales' accumulation spree. MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor, a prominent figure in the industry, recently acquired a hefty 6,911 Bitcoin, showcasing unwavering institutional confidence in Bitcoin's future, which will in turn affect XRP and its price. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
But I kind of want to go back to XRP and another way that they could utilize that asset. So in the Middle East, the government owns the large repositories of gold or not gold, but oil, and they sell that off, right? And they pay a stipend to the citizens there. If we owned a large amount of XRP and put that to work in liquidity pools, and we were able to generate returns for our US government in that capacity, you don't need tax dollars from the citizens. You have your own internal mechanism by which you're generating value and producing returns for the US government. And I think that that'd be a huge incentive for them to provide liquidity to global markets and generate interest for the government here. So just another way that I think might end up transpiring as we get some of these amendments passed on the XRPL this year.
Can XRP really break the $4 barrier? With promising technical indicators, institutional support, and a dash of market optimism, the odds certainly seem in favor of XRP's upward trajectory. Investors are urged to stay vigilant, keeping an eye on regulatory developments and economic trends that could sway XRP's path. But what do you think? Share your thoughts. And finally, if you would like to know more about cryptocurrencies or specifically Bitcoin, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.